Welcome to the Flowergod. I'm going to show you how to do a simple corsage. We're going to use some hot pink freesia, white rose, a little bit of wax flower, plumosa. I'm going to show you some ways to wire some of your flowers. Taking a rose, I've already pulled the guard petals off, which are the ones that are wrinkled. You want the perfect rose. We're going to cut this down about an inch from the flower head. We're going to take some wire. This is about a 22 gauge wire. You get this at your floral shop or hobby shops, floral craft shops. What you got to do, you got to go right underneath the rose petal. There's a little knot right there. It's called the calyx. You got to go straight through where it comes out about 1.5 inches, 2 inches on the other side. Now we're just going to fold this straight down, so the perpendicular. Now we're going to take our floral tape, again you can get it from your craft store, floral shop. And this has to be pulled tight and stretched, and that's what makes it hold. Now what we're doing is turning the rose and pulling each wrap as tight as possible. And I spin, because I'm right-handed, I'll spin the flower with my left hand. I'll guide the tape down the wire, and as I'm going, I'm pulling as tight as I can. And what that does, it adheres to itself. Now I've missed a couple little spots here, so I'm going to go back over it again just to fill in with any spots that I have missed. Just keep pulling tight. On this corsage, I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of the wire. I've already pre-wired a few of the freesia flowers. And what I'm going to do to show you how to do some of these, you take about 1 inch of your wire, fold it over, go straight through the center. And what I've done, I've left the top part of the stem that holds your flower petals together. And I'm pulling the wire down through it, and where I've looped this over, this is going to slide through. You don't want to pull too far through, you just want to pull it to where it just starts coming out. The wire has just come out just a little bit. And what that's going to do is going to keep spinning around. And again, we're going to take our tape, we're going to wrap around the flower, kind of start off loose so you don't crush the flower because it's really delicate. And as you come down the wire, then you start pulling tighter and tighter. And then we start going down the wire a little bit. Now I'll tear this off by just pulling. Now it's a little loose here, so I'm going to go back over again just to make sure it's good and taut. Now I can put a little more pressure on it since I've already got it taped. Now again, I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of the wire. I'm going to make this look like the stem on the flower, and I've used light green tape. I'll do a couple more here. Go right through the center, back down just enough to hold the flower. And again, now we're going to start taping. And each flower you do, sometimes you get a little bit better at it, so it makes it a little bit easier. Now what I have here, I have some of the buds for the tip. Again, I'm folding over about 1 inch. I'm going to go in between the bottom flower and the stem and kind of let that wire fork over it. And I'll be wiring and taping right on the stem. And all you're doing is camouflaging your wire now with the tape, and it'll look just like the stem when you're finished. Freesia is a really pretty spring flower, and the wax flower goes very well with both. Now this is going to be more of the tip. I've already done a few others. I'm going to take some of the wax flower and lay right next to the buds. Now I have some plumosa, and this is going to be just a little bit of foliage. It's going to accent your flowers. You don't want a whole lot, you just want enough to make it look like it's coming out of the garden. And you can adjust your plumosa in any direction you would like to get it to flow one direction or the other. Now, as we have all those laid together, we're going to start taping again. And we're going to tape down about an inch. Now what we're going to do, we're going to cut off all of our stems that were too long. That way we don't make a big bulky stem here. We just want a little bit of bulk here, and as we add flowers to it, it'll thin out. Now we're going to add a little bit larger freesia. That'll add a little bit to it. A little more wax flower. And a little bit more foliage. Plumosa is a good foliage for corsages because it's real light and airy. It doesn't give you that big bulk. And what I've done here is stripped off some of the foliage as I'm going down because I don't want it to be really bulky. I want it to be fairly light. Again, tape down about an inch. Cut off the short stems. Now remember, I had taped these all the way down. This is going to be a final finale at the end of your bouquet. I'm just going to add a couple more buds. And as I go, you step your flowers down gradually and make it start getting a little bit wider. You don't have to go real wide. If you want something really long and thin, you can do it that way, or adjust it to wherever you like it to be. And all you're doing is just adding layers of flowers together on it. And let your plumosa kind of hang out. It just adds a little flair to it. And with your wires that you have taped on, you could adjust all your flowers to where you want them to after you get it set pretty well. So I've flared this out a little bit further in that one. And I'm just going to add a couple more of the freesias to it and adjust. And a little bit more wax. The freesia like this is just adding a little more color to your corsage. Now I'm going to add the rose. And you can adjust the rose if you need to take a petal off, just to get it to look perfect in the corsage. Now I've got that laid up there. Now I'm just going to start taping about an inch down. Now any of my short stems I'm going to cut off again. Now all these are my flower stems, so we want to leave those fairly long. Foliage, and what I'm going to do is finish this off around the rose and add one more freesia. And add a little wax flower just around it. The stems don't have to be really long, just enough so you can tape your flowers to it. And we'll cluster some of the wax around the rose. Again, I'm stripping off any foliage that's there, any of your natural stems to keep it short and thin. You don't want a big bulky corsage, you want something fairly light, a little tailored. Now I've come down maybe about an inch here. Now what I'm going to do with all my stems, like I said, I take these all the way to the end and finish them off. Now I'm going to take just a stem, or you could use a pencil or a pen or something like that. Just something to curl and wrap your stems around to give it that kind of a viney look. Some people put a corsage bow here, some people don't. It depends on what you have in mind. And I think the vine look at the bottom just adds a little bit to a corsage. And what I'm doing is just coiling them around a pencil or a stick or anything you have available. And that's why you tape all the way down on your main flower stems, so it looks like a vine. And just about finished. And the way these are done with the wire, they could be adjusted any direction, anywhere you want. Makes it very flexible. You kind of gather them up a little bit closer. And then a couple of corsage pins. Always use 2 corsage pins on a corsage. It gives you that little bit more strength to put it on. What you do, you go through the blouse or the shirt, the dress, and go through there first, then through the main part, and then put your point in the direction. And that's how you make a corsage.